Today we are watching another video from B1M and it's about a Japan airport which is sinking. Yes, you guys saw the title. Japan's 40 billion yen or 40 billion dollars, sorry, 40 billion dollars Kansai airport is sinking. Yes, you heard that right. And we're gonna see, I hope we get to know and we get to see why is it sinking or what's happening and all that, so yeah, I love Japan. I want to visit Japan, but yeah, let's see if this airport can survive till I go there or not.
This is Kansai International Airport in Japan, a true pioneer of civil engineering.
Why it looks like it's an island
that's just turned 30 years old. And it has some pretty impressive achievements to its name. It was the first airport ever built on reclaimed land in the ocean.
Yeah, look at that, dude. I mean, Japan's always have crazy stuff going on there with their construction, with their buildings, with their structures, with like how they do everything is so different from other world, man.
It has the longest terminal building in the world, and it never lost a single item of luggage.
Yeah, that I have. This is not the first time I've been hearing about this. That there is this airport in Japan. They have never lost a single luggage, dude. That's impressive. That's hella impressive, dude.
But it does have one rather big problem. It's sinking. But the story doesn't stop there, because despite that, it's getting a $500 million facelift to increase capacity and improve its status as a regional hub.
Oh.
So how do they build an airport in the ocean?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Like how it's looks like an island as well, like an airport as well, but it's like on the water, but really out of the normal surface, like it have some kind of a strip going on, which I guess you take a car or some kind of vehicle and then you go on wherever you want to go in Japan, but it's really outside of everywhere, it's like really made on the water, like floating airport, I don't know, something like that.
How did it go wrong? And what does the future hold for Kansai International? Nowadays, building an airport on water is fairly common. But none of these would have been possible without the radical design of Osaka's Kansai Airport. When construction began in 1987, it was decades ahead of its time. It took 20 years to plan, 7 years to build, and then when it finally opened, it was the most expensive civil engineering project in modern history.
Wow.
It cost $14 billion to construct. That's nearly $40 billion in today's money. The bridge to the mainland alone cost a cool $1 billion.
So that's a bridge,
All this to build a miraculous city in the ocean. But that all kind of begs the question, why bother?
Yeah.
Well, after the Second World War, Japan experienced decades of staggering economic growth that made it the world's second biggest economy by 1968. And key to the country's growth was infrastructure. This is Osaka.
These days it's because of
it was
that.
Japan's second largest city. And this is its airport. I think you can see where we're going with this. The airport can't expand if it's stuck inside the city, and the city can't expand if its airport can't keep up with demand. A new airport was needed, but Osaka is surrounded by mountains, and there just wasn't anywhere to put it. So a radical solution was needed.
Just put it outside, huh?
By the early 1970s, 4 sites were being considered for the future airports, 3 of which were out at
water.
Sea. But how do you build an airport in the middle of an ocean? Well, the first thing you need to do is secure a solid foundation. This is a cross-section of Osaka Bay, represented here in a Lego model that my kids had made. Now, they only made this on the condition that I would give them a shout out in a YouTube video and help make them famous. So, hello kids, thanks for the Lego, Daddy loves you.
Okay,
now, this
cool.
is representative, as I said, of Osaka Bay. Top bit here is water, that's about 18 metres deep. Below that is a layer of Holocene clay that's also about 18 metres deep. Underneath that is a much bigger zone of strata that includes much thicker clay and, crucially, some pockets of sand, represented here, very crudely, with brown and grey Lego. Now, remember those pockets of sand, because we're going to come back to it a bit later on. Fetch the sponge. Now, that area of brown and grey clay I just showed you, that's now represented by a yellow sponge, stay with us, is filled with lots of holes that fill with water, meaning it's quite thick, but also quite weak. If I try and build anything on it, it just deforms straight away. Now, that's called settlement. And for those of you who aren't structural engineers, just know that it's really not very good if you're trying to build an airport. So what you want to do is consolidate that layer as far as possible, squeezing all the water out and compacting it as far as possible until you get a nice solid layer to build on. Now, that all sounds really simple in theory, but how on earth do you do that on the bottom of the seabed? Well, you use something called sand drains. Here's how they work.
Columns are dug into the ground and filled with sand before being capped off by another layer of sand. The space above the sand mat is then filled in with rubble, which forces everything downwards. Under this pressure, the water that's trapped inside the clay moves sideways and into the sand drains. Because water travels more easily through sand, it shoots up to the top where it's drained away into the sea or evaporated. The land below then becomes dry, compact, and crucially, stable. Construction first began in 1987. 1 million sand drains were installed at the site in Osaka Bay, each 40 centimetres wide and 20 metres deep.
I'm sure that's very hard, man.
Next, to protect the site and give the island its shape, an 11-kilometre long seawall was constructed using 48,000 tetrapods.
Wow.
Then came the massive job of filling in the island with earth. Over the course of more than 3 years, 180 million cubic metres of earth was poured in to create the island.
Damn.
That's about 75 times the volume of the Great Pyramid
Whoa.
of Giza.
Over the next few years, 10,000
I mean, this is an
people
airport,
worked
so
10 million work hours to fill in the future airport site.
wow.
By 1992, the reclamation work was complete, and a brand new island sat proudly in Osaka Bay.
The massive weight of the landfill had pushed all the water out of the clay seabed, compacting it and creating a nice solid layer to build on. Or so they thought.
But now it's
Engineers
going
always
down.
knew the island would sink a bit as the seabed compacted. But in
Looks
1990,
cool, man.
3 years after construction began, they discovered that it was sinking much faster than expected,
Oh.
by about 5 centimetres a month. $100
Okay,
million
that is
was
a lot.
spent to bulk up the island's height and ensure it didn't sink below 4 metres above sea level. That's the height it has to be to avoid being flooded by rough seas. Originally, engineers thought the island would sink by about 8 metres over the course of 50 years.
Oh.
But it sunk by more than that by the time the airport opened in 1994.
Oh,
8
damn.
years later, it had sunk by 12 metres.
Whoa.
But why? Well, it all comes down to those different levels of clay we discussed earlier. See, I told you the Lego would be back. The plan to compact the Holocene clay had worked as expected, but it was this different layer down here that caused the problems.
This layer, known as Pleistocene, is made up of much thicker clay and crucially has lots of layers of sand running through it.
Okay.
That means it's very difficult to predict how it will react when something this big is built on top of it.
The fact that all of this was so unpredictable actually goes to show just how advanced this airport was. Even today, there's an argument in academic circles about whether we need to actually rewrite some of the fundamental principles of soil dynamics in light of what happened at Kansai.
And before we go any further, we should say that despite its foundations, Kansai Airport really is a remarkable feat of engineering.
Yeah, man, I'm sure.
Take the terminal building designed by Renzo Piano. The roof has this wave-like shape. That was the result of extensive studies that found this was the perfect shape to draw cool air through the building, avoiding the need for expensive air conditioning.
Wow.
Because the terminal building is a whopping 1.7 kilometres long, 900 jacks were fitted underneath to level out any uneven settlement under the structure.
These jacks are automatically measured and then adjusted every few years.
Wow.
Its lightweight design allows every part of the building to flex so it can absorb an earthquake without being damaged.
Wow.
Even the runway is paved with asphalt instead of concrete, which allows it to bend instead of snapping. In
Damn.
1995, a massive earthquake struck nearby.
They always have
Tragically,
earthquakes
the
in
neighbouring city
Japan,
of
man.
Kobe was devastated, but the airport and the people inside it escaped unscathed.
Okay, that's
Despite all
good.
its challenges, the airport was deemed so successful that in 1999 work began on a second island to increase its capacity.
Okay.
And then in 2001, the American Society of Civil Engineers awarded it the Monument of the Millennium Award, along with the Hoover Dam and the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh.
The rate of settlement has almost ground to a halt, from 50 centimetres a year in 1994 to just 7 centimetres a year now. So that's it. Problem solved. Everyone's happy. Well, not quite.
Winds of up to 172
Oh,
kilometers
there
per
you
hour
go.
whipped up seas, pounded the coastline and destroyed ships.
Oh,
as
winds are
Typhoon
coming
Jebi
which are blowing
struck
water.
Japan.
In 2018, Typhoon Jebi hit Osaka Bay and sent waves crashing over the seawall, flooding the
Damn.
runway and other critical
Oh.
areas of the airport.
Oh,
Little
damn,
could be
look
done
at
to keep
that.
the flood water out, and hundreds of flights have been cancelled.
Kansai
Wow.
was closed for 3 days and didn't resume full service for almost another fortnight. It was a timely reminder that you can't outrun nature forever.
That's true.
The following year, another phase of remedial works began to raise the seawall and the runway.
To stop the works interfering with the path of the landing planes, the seawall was initially raised by 2.2 metres. After this, another metre was added to the runway before the wall was then raised by another 2.7 metres.
Oh.
Now, if you've booked a ticket to Osaka, please don't worry. This airport is perfectly safe to fly to. Despite all the struggles, Kansai is still a thriving regional hub.
Yeah,
it's one of
man.
the busiest airports in Asia, and
Japan
the
is very
third
smart.
busiest in Japan.
Airport bosses are so confident in the latest flood defences that the main terminal is getting a $470
Yeah, they're renovating,
million
so they know
renovation,
that it
all
can
to increase
survive.
capacity and improve passenger experience. It's also a key transport hub for the upcoming Osaka 2025 Expo, which is set to draw
Whoa.
in 28 million visitors.
Whoa.
But as for its
Should
long-term
visit this.
future, well, who knows? The rate at which the airport's sinking has been slowed massively, but it's not expected to stop for some time yet. A 2015 report predicted that both islands could have sunk to sea level by 2067. One option is to continue to raise the runway and the seawall, but that doesn't come cheap. At some point, the airport's future becomes based on economics rather than engineering.
What we can say is that as it reaches its 30th birthday, this is a revolutionary airport which has served over 1 billion people. It
Yeah.
remains one of the most ambitious civil engineering projects ever and has pioneered airport design for decades to come. We won't be saying goodbye for a very long time yet, but even if we one day do, its legacy will certainly live on.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, as they said in the video, like, I don't think so it's gonna go down bad or, it's gonna sink that fast. But, okay, I mean, it is sinking, as they said, few inches, you can say, every year, but, or few centimeters it was, but overall, it's a sick airport, it's a sick concept, it's an amazing engineering skills, bro, they got. Because I mean, if you know Japan or you kind of know Japan history or you have visited Japan, you will know like how different or how different or crazy engineering or everything they do is very different than any other countries, dude. Any other countries, you can say. And that's the reason many people like to visit Japan, because it's so different. So like their shops, their malls, their everything is so different. You can say how airport is so crazy and different. Imagine how their other things would be, and that's also the reason I want to visit there too. But I don't know when that will happen, but yeah, I hope it survives for a long time. But yeah, even if it sinks, I'm sure no one will be hurt. They will know when it's sinking and all that. They are smart as hell. So they have already predicted that it will be sink by 2060, something like that. So they have a lot of time. So yeah, overall they're booming. They're even trying to put more money into it. Like they are trying to renovate it. So which is good, which means that they know that no trouble is coming yet, no problems are coming yet. So they are booming, they are putting more money into it, more people are coming there. So yeah, they are killing it. So it is for $40 billion, they put a lot of money into it. But yeah, every few years they have to raise that wall because of the sea level. It always changes, and all those storms are coming, tornadoes, typhoons are coming. Japan, always, man, always. That country is good and all that, it's different and all that, but tornadoes and all that hit them crazy as always. I don't know, but it's really sad. But yeah, overall amazing airport, never been, but I'm sure it's sick. And how the whole engineering concept, the concept of the roads, how they are made, so they can, you know, they can work according to the sea, how it will work, or they cannot break or have cracks in them, or how the roof of that airport is made, like, you know, kind of round, so it can have all the air. You know, they're really smart, dude. So yeah, how it's made and all that is sick. And yeah, I'm sure it's gonna survive many years. And yeah, really wanna visit. But yeah, let's see if we visit, and hopefully to see one day. But yeah, overall crazy concept, man, crazy concept, and they are killing it. But yeah, amazing video by B1M, and I'll see you guys in the next one.